Hey guys, how's everybody doing? I wanted to take some time to make an update video on my innovative marine SR-80. A couple of things I wanted to do in this video is answer some questions that people have asked me about the tank, as well as show you guys how I do a water change, which is pretty simple on this AIO type of tank. For those of you that are not too familiar with AIO, it basically means all-in-one tank, which means it requires no sump. I also wanted to kind of address some of the benefits to an AIO type of setup here. But before I start, I just want to say thank you to all you guys that have given me positive comments and feedback, and especially those that have subscribed. I know it's been a few months since I posted an update, but reason being is because I finally had my son. He's 3 months old as of this third, so he's been taking up pretty much the majority of my time, which is why I haven't been able to spend too much time making videos. But just an update on the tank. So far it's done very well. Had a little bit of an algae issue, which I addressed by basically changing the settings and the time that I have the lights on. For those of you that have seen my first couple of videos, I started off with the AI hydras, and they've done extremely well for me. They're a bit on the expensive side, but it was well worth the money. As you guys can see, for those of you that have checked out my other videos, I've got quite a bit of different corals. Got a little zoa colony, my Welsophilia, got a pineapple brain coral, little mushroom mountain back there. Some of the original guys is those organ pipes, got a little rose bulb there. Let's see, that one, my little Kenya tree, I've been having some issues with her kind of expanding and spreading out in the tank. As you can see, she's got a couple of little forests growing. Another one there in the corner, which she just released that one. My little leathers here, well, I can't say little because it's probably the biggest coral that I have in the tank. She's grown substantially in the last few months. Same thing with my multicolor hammer. That was kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to get into reefing, was because of the hammer corals. They're just, there's just something about them that I really enjoy. Can't seem to get enough of it. I'm not too much of a fan of overpopulating the tank with one specific type of coral. I will say this, as far as livestock, I've mainly got 3 bigger fish, which are the tangs. Got the yellow tang, sailfin tang, and the cold tang, which she's a little bit shyer. She comes out once we get close to the glass, but there she is right there. I had a couple of Nemo or Celeris for those of you that get mad at calling them Nemos, but I ended up basically getting rid of 2 of them and just sticking to one, because it seems as soon as this one started hosting with my rose bulb, she became very aggressive and started picking on the other ones. Funny thing is, at night she tends to stick to my little bulb anemone there, but he's kind of closed up right now. Usually during the day he's open and he'll come out to the top, but sometimes he's a little shy. I still have my 2 chromies. Those are the 2 diehards that I put in there during the cycling process, and they've done very well. No issues yet. Let's see what else we got in here. Got a couple of fire shrimp in there. You can see one of them there, but the other one's in there hiding out. Another one of my original fish is my mandarin back there. I don't know if you guys can see her. She does pretty well. What I usually do about every month and a half is I order the amphipod and copepod set from Reefs to Go. Usually buy that buy 1,000 get 1,000 free pack, and it seems to work well for her for quite a while. Don't really have many snails. I really don't see a need for them, because the sand stays pretty clean with the filtration setup that I've got here. Plus, like I said, I don't have the lights on for very long. I've got them on a 4-hour ramp up time, and they don't even go to full strength, because for my personal use that's going to be a little bit too strong. I don't know if you guys can see there. Give me a second. Let's try to adjust here. A little bit more. There we go. Yeah, those are pretty much the settings that I use during the day after a 4-hour ramp up time. Let's go back here. I'll kind of show you. Oh, I'm sorry, 5-hour ramp up time starting at 9. Sunset starts at 4:30, so usually I get home about 7 o'clock and there's still some decent lighting going on. Let's go back to it. My MP10s, I haven't really changed much as far as the strength settings. What's going on with my focus here? There we go. Surprisingly enough, when I first got into the reefing, I thought these MP10s were going to be a little bit too weak sauce for the tank, but if I put them both at a higher strength, it does start creating quite a bit of waves, and it ends up blowing over my corals quite a bit. So for those of you thinking about getting an SR-80, I do perfectly fine with 2 MP10s, one on each side. You could probably do well with just one, but in addition to those 2, I think they're 360 gallon return pumps. There's 2 of them on these tanks. Between those and the MP10s, there's quite a bit of water movement on here, so I've been pretty happy with that. I started off talking about the livestock, but as you can see, I had an Aiken colony back there, but unfortunately it's no longer with us. Reason being is my fox face, she ended up picking at it and eating it, and I was gone for a little while, and my wife, she finally caught him, snapped some pictures of him, and by that time it was a little bit too late, so I ended up getting rid of my fox face, which I traded in for the coal tang there. But I don't know, I just thought the skeleton looked kind of cool. I'm kind of hoping that maybe something else will grow into it, but you know, we'll see how well that goes. Now I had a subscriber ask me a question about this AIO type of tank. They were asking me if I think personally if a sump system is better or this AIO setup. I know I'm a little bit biased, but I would have to say that AIO is pretty much the way to go. It seems to be becoming more and more popular amongst the reefing community. But for me, I really don't see any reason to have a 30 or 40 gallon sump under a tank. For one, it's going to take up too much space, and for two, as you guys can see, the tank is doing well. I really have no need for it. As long as you're doing your maintenance and you're controlling your water parameters, doing your water changes, changing out your filters, you really won't have any issues. But for those of you that haven't seen my first couple of videos, I ordered one of those media baskets. It's got 3 levels. As you can see, there's just that blue filter that you know, that one you can kind of cut out and put into shape. I put 3 sheets of that on top of here. At the bottom of that, I use the ChemiPure Elite. I don't really have any issues as far as nitrate or keeping the water clean. As you can tell, it's super clear, which I 100% attribute that to the ChemiPure. In the second chamber here, I've just got it's a very small heater. It was actually, I used that on my 30 gallon tank, and it's working perfectly fine on my 80 gallon tank. The temperature, let's see if I can focus in here, it pretty much stays right at 80, which is, for my tank setup, it's pretty perfect for what I need. The middle chamber, of course, that's just the return pumps, nothing major there. Got a little bit of algae growing on the back wall, but that's just where the light hits, but I don't think it has any side effects, negative or positive. It hasn't affected my tank even when I clean it off, but I don't know, for me, I just kind of like the way it looks. I'll go to the other side here. My Ghost protein skimmer, I've posted an update because somebody had asked me if I've had any issues with it. I did have a problem where the pump was making a little bit too much noise. Pretty much all I did was contact the Innovative Marine. They sent me out a new pump, installed it, and I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. The pump stays pretty quiet for the most part. I'm sure you guys can hear some of the water splashing around. It's usually a lot quieter, but I just changed out my filter sock this morning, as a matter of fact, so there's really nothing restricting the flow, so the water's going through a little bit quicker and a little bit louder. You can see I've got some of the pods that I mentioned earlier hanging out in the filter. It's perfectly normal for them to stay there. What I usually do is right after I change out my filter, I take the old filter sock out and I end up just manually removing all the copepods and the amphipods that are on there. Mainly it's just for that little guy right there, the green mandarin. But going back to the filter sock, there's quite a bit of places that you can buy them from. I know me personally, I had a bit of an issue trying to find out which one I actually needed, but there's really only 2 filter socks. This is the 200 micron in a 4-inch. The 4-inch works perfectly for the depth of the tank here. So if you try to get a bigger one, it's not going to fit. All you're going to do is kind of fold the filter at the bottom and restrict the flow. So if you guys order one, they don't cost that much. Probably looking at about 10 bucks each with shipping on like Amazon, which is where I get them from. Going back to the tank setup here, the reason I don't want to have a sump is because it takes up too much real estate. As you can see, these innovative marine tanks, the bottom end is pretty big. I can actually set 2, I don't know if you guys can see in there, but I've got 2 jugs of water. One of them is salt water, the other one's RODI water. I keep all my supplies here on the first section, which is just more accessible for me. Here's the power strip that supplies the power to my skimmer, both of my return pumps, and also my heater, which I'll show you how to do a water change here in a bit. At the bottom there, I don't really keep much. There's my other power strip back there. It's kind of hard to see because it's dark, but that one pretty much runs the lights and everything else that I need. This last section, I really have not much of a need for it, to be honest. I just kind of keep the boxes of some of my supplies and things that I bought there. My wife always gets after me because I'm kind of a stickler of keeping boxes of things I buy for whatever reason, but I'll just kind of keep them there in case I ever need them. But it's kind of a short and sweet update on the tank, and hopefully I kind of answered the viewers' questions in terms of the type of tank that I like. Again, I don't see a need for a sump because everything that I need is in the back section for the filtration. I kind of changed up my fish's diet here, if you will. I started sticking to this coral reef banquet, which I like to feed them a small square in the morning. This gut loaded mysis, I pretty much give them like a whole cube at night, and I don't think that's overfeeding because they end up eating everything. Haven't had any issues, like I said, with any algae growth or the glass getting very dirty. I mean, I clean the glass, but I pretty much only clean it maybe like once every 3 or 4 days, and I don't really have much of a need to clean it more than that. The other thing that I've been keeping up with, which I know I showed you guys this before, is still on a daily note. I test the water. I write down what the salinity is at. I started documenting all my results for the test when I do the test every Sunday. As you can see, every Sunday I check the water as far as testing it. I do a water change out the filters, and I really use this for notation purposes in case I ever notice something out of whack. I can track it on a daily basis until I get it fixed. I guess I'm a little bit anal, but it's worked out well. Don't really see a need to change that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the update on my tank here. Let me go ahead and show you guys how I do the water change. Like I just showed you in my little notebook there, I change out the water once a week, which I do smaller water changes. I just use one of these like 5-gallon buckets that I picked up at Lowe's for a few bucks. It's 5 gallons, so I know exactly how much I'm taking out and how much to put back in. The only other thing that I use is just some regular tubing. I got this off of my sand sifting siphon, which I never sift out the sand because, again, I've had pretty good luck with it keeping it clean. But pretty much I take one end and I put it over here into the back side where my return pumps are. Just kind of put it to the very bottom, and the other end we're just gonna go ahead and set it in there for right now. The most important thing that you need to do is you need to remember to turn off the pumps, because it's gonna siphon out the water from the back of the tank fairly quickly. If you decide to do a setup like I have, in the second chamber back here I've got my heater, but I've got it strapped down, so as you can see right there, you can see like the water line from where it raises when I do the water changes. So gotta make sure to take out the heater before you do anything. I'll just set that there for right now. The other thing that I did to make my life easier, which I just mentioned, is I put everything that I need to turn off during the water change on that back power strip there. So let me turn this off real quick. Alright, so everything is off. Let me show you how much the water level rises in the back here. As you can see, it's kind of difficult to tell, but the water level is rising significantly above where it was before I turned it on, which is why I say it's so important to turn this off. And granted, the power is off of it, but still, you don't want any water getting in there. So as soon as you turn it on, you probably end up shorting something out, or possibly harming some of your fish or corals in there. So now that that's off, got to keep in mind that the power heads are still working, because I have those on a different power strip, and that's just to keep some of the water flow going. Make sure nobody starts getting paranoid, getting into shock. As you can see, it kind of scares some of the fish. As soon as the water stops, they kind of start to hide, but not too big of a deal. Let me get this water going. There's really no fancy trick. I pretty much just keep one end in the tank, this other end. Let me just siphon some of the water out and get the flow going. Fairly simple. We'll just leave that in there for a minute. That only takes roughly about a minute to fill up that 5-gallon bucket, so the water change will be pretty simple. While that's doing its business over there, this is what I use to top off my my water daily. Once I know what the salinity is at, before I start adding water in there, I don't really like to have a gallon of pre-mixed salt water and RO water. I kind of like to maintain a little bit more control. But what I do is I'll pretty much get some of the water, mix it in there, start filling up the tank back there, and while I'm doing that, I'll take my little Milwaukee salinity tester, and I'll test the water just to see what the salinity is at. Your optimum is going to be 1.026, which is where I keep it on a daily basis, and that's pretty much it. I got my son waking up over here, so I'm gonna have to cut this one short. But if you guys have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask. Shoot me an email, just throw it out in the comments there. I appreciate you guys' time, and hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.